don't make my man's life harder than it needs to be. In return, odds are your life is going to be much better. You're not going to be crying, and you're probably going to have a better experience. I think that's the general takeaway from that. But if you want to get down granular and be like, well, actually, in this specific situation, this is not true, but it's true in there. But it's true in there.
Imitating my voice. Brandon has been very passive aggressive with me for like the past 5 minutes. I don't know what's going on. Am I making your life hard?
Well, no. Well, my life is fine right now. But I'm just like, where are we arguing from here? So are we arguing? Why does it feel weird when you saying that?
Because God don't like the way you talking to me.
Here we go.
And he's
life getting real hard right
now. Okay.
Life getting real hard right now. Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon, and I am joined once again by my fabulous partner and co-host.
Hey, y'all, it's Tiandra.
Welcome back to another episode of The Buffet with Brandon and Tiandra, where we continue to give you that endless food for thought. Come eat with us.
We started this podcast to discuss the questions we have asked and continue to ask since we started dating. Our conversations will range from real, raw, and deep to light and comical and spicy.
Sure. Yeah. So, like you said, let us feast. Ooh, I like that.
I like it too. All right, we gonna get started.
Well, actually, first and foremost, my fault. I just realized. Now, I'm saying we just want to go ahead and give you that call to action and make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash that like button because it really helps us out. You know what I'm saying? We did some reading. Turns out, like, we got to give y'all something to do, to help us with these numbers. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get to that first 100. So every time y'all hit that thumbs up, every time you hit that subscribe, it helps push the episode out to more people to see and indulge in our awesomeness. All right. That being said, back to our regularly scheduled program.
You should hear the sound.
Yeah, I like that. Burr, 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 burr. I actually have it. I don't have to do that.
I know.
I don't have to
We've been
anymore.
our own sound effects for the first year of the podcast, and now we got to get used to using it.
Yeah. We can do it. We can do it with a press of a button, but it's just so new. We're just not used to doing it yet. We'll get there, y'all.
We can start with. I think we should start with first plate because I don't think we have any date stuff. I went out of town, y'all. I went to Cali to visit my friend Marguerite. Hey, Marguerite girl, I know you're listening.
What's up?
And so we didn't have an opportunity to have a date over the past week.
No.
But we're going on a date today, so we'll be able to talk about that.
Well, what we can say is one of our loyal subscribers, aka Rob. What up, fam? You know what I'm saying? He let us know about a particular date of his that was memorable. You know what I'm saying? He indicated that him and his lady, his wife, his fam, them, you know what I'm saying, went a little bit to the beach, had a time of their life down there on the beach. They went, they had a time. Well, I don't know if it was last night, but that's last time they went. Now, so they went parasailing and things of that nature. They was out there in the air, flying above. Said it was fire, but he don't recommend it for anybody who's just starting out or who ain't really, committed yet. Because if you ain't got the pockets for it, it's not something that he recommend for somebody who's just starting in the relationship, like a first date.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant committed to parasailing. I was like, I didn't know that we had to be committed.
No, committed to each other. Like,
okay, gotcha.
It's an amazing date idea, but he wouldn't recommend it for people just starting in the dating game.
Super fresh, yeah, for sure. Which I agree with that. So I appreciate you sharing that experience with us. I hope you and Pauline had an excellent time. I know y'all did. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's the spice already. Okay, let's get started with our first plate. We got a little video that we are gonna play and audio if you're just listening.
To make his penis hard, not his life. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
It's very valid.
Yes,
Yeah.
make his dick hard, not his life. So he will make your pussy wet, not your eye. I always try.
And we probably should have gave y'all some kind of warning that this was
Oh yeah.
rated R. Well, these days that's
PG-13.
PG-13. These days that's PG-13. But back in, you know, when we was coming up, that was R rated right there. It might be NC-17. Yeah.
What do you think about that clip, babe?
Well, from the man's perspective, that sounds heavenly. As a man listening to her say that, I was like, oh, that sounds like the key. Like, she's spitting. You know, she's spitting. But mostly because it sounds like she's pretty much advocating not making your man's life difficult than it needs to be. Like, you're not there to add a burden or make his life any more difficult than it already is, him moving through the world. Like, your job is to really kind of to make things easier, make you know, not be an impediment on his life. So I'm like, this sounds like facts to me. I don't know how much further I personally can break it down, but you know, what do you think about what she said? Because I understand that how she said it can, you know, a lot of women could, well, because a lot of people may, like you said, may ruffle some feathers. They may not like it. It may be given to, what's the word that women like to throw around these days? A lot of pick-me-ish behavior. So I would be very interested in hearing what you thought about that small excerpt from Miss Lady.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting the fact that it was a saying. It sounds like something that the way that she delivered it and the way that the clip for people who are just listening is a group of women talking, assuming that they were at a podcast shoot or recording the conversation in some way, because it looked like a professional shoot. It wasn't just the one girl and her phone recording this. So I thought it was interesting that the way that it was delivered was almost like, this is common knowledge.
Yeah, like
we
ancient
all
wisdom.
do this.
Like
yeah,
like her mama told her that, and she got that from her mama. Yeah.
This is a parable. Like, we all have been taught this particular line. We know what it is, and we know how to use it and apply it. So I thought that part was the most interesting thing, of just like, this is common knowledge. If you do this, then you get these kind of results.
Yeah, it seems like A plus, you know, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and the fact that everyone was like, yeah, that makes all the sense. No one was like, I ain't never heard of that before. It's like they all heard it. I was like, I ain't never heard that, but I wish I had.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The only part that I'm not 100% sure on is the second part of, like, if you do this for him, the reward for you is that he's gonna make your pussy wet and not your eyes. I don't know about that, because you could be in a space where you're doing things to not make your partner's life difficult, and as a reward, they just don't make your life difficult. I don't know that automatically equates to, like, at least for women, like, that doesn't automatically equate to an accelerator, something that's going to get you closer to desire or, like, wanting to have sex with your partner.
I like how you dropped that term, accelerator.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People might not know what that means, but I'm sure by context, I'm sure they can pick that up.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like something that would automatically translate into you wanting to have sex with your partner because you're doing things to not make their life difficult. It might not be the same, if that makes sense. Like, this may not always equate to that.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, and
why can't you do both? Make his dick hard and his life a little hard. Well, not hard, but, like, provide challenges. I think they're not. How do I want to say this? Your life is not easy for anyone. So I'm not going to add to the challenges in your life.
That's literally what you said.
Yeah, but hold on. But I am going to challenge you in some ways. It's not like you get over here and it's like shit sweet and there isn't any room for growth or there isn't any feedback or anything like that. And I don't know if that's included in making his life hard. Because sometimes I think when we think of women who are submissive, or we hear about submissive women, we think that they're pushovers, that you can just, a doormat, you can just walk all over them. You're not going to get any type of critical feedback. They're never going to say anything to you or challenge you in any way. And I don't think that's true, because I don't think that that's true partnership. Like, if I'm not challenging you in a way to help accelerate your growth or increase your growth potential, then I'm not doing my due diligence as your partner. If you just stay exactly the same as you were when you first met me, if you don't elevate in some way as a result of being in a relationship with me, we're not doing something not right. And I think a part of the way that we elevate, a part of the way that we grow is through uncomfortable, unknown situations. And often we perceive those things as challenges. We perceive new things usually as like a little bit hard, a little bit challenging because of the uncertainty of it. So am I going to make your life difficult? No. But is there going to be times where it feels like your life is more difficult because I'm here and because I'm challenging you and offering you critical feedback? Probably. I'm still gonna make your dick hard though, so it's a 2 for 1. Yes.
I don't. What are you arguing right now? Are you arguing in agreement to what she said, or are you arguing into like she's bullshitting?
No, I don't disagree with what she said. I just think that there's additional context that goes along with it.
Well, of course. I mean, come on. I mean, it's a parable. The parable isn't something that like is if you take it literal, it's always true. It's like a in general, like quick brushstroke in the sense of like, don't make a man's life harder than it needs to be. In return, odds are your life is going to be much better. You're not going to be crying, and you're probably going to have a better experience. I think that's the general takeaway from that. But if you want to get down granular and be like, well, actually, in this specific situation, this is not true, but it's true in there. But it's true in there.
Imitating my voice. Brandon has been very passive aggressive with me for like the past 5 minutes. No. I don't know what's going on. Am I making your life hard?
Well, no. Well, my life is fine right now. But I'm just like, where are we arguing from here? So are we arguing? Why does it feel weird me saying
because
that?
God don't like the way you talking to me.
Here we go.
And he's
life getting real hard right
now. Okay.
Life getting real hard right now.
But no, babe, I was just adding some additional context there. I'm not arguing against it. I think that there's a place where parables can be overused because of how simple they are, and they can be weaponized in that sense of like, you're making my life hard, not my dick. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. It's like, no, Negro. Like, your life is, there's a challenge here in front of you. So rise to the challenge, but it isn't like an additional difficulty that you can't surpass. Like it's not like something that is a possible feat for you.
I hear that. And like I said, you also said something earlier about how you're going to challenge, not you specifically, but women will challenge their partner, their man, to elevate and become better and things of that nature. So, but that comes with the idea of just like, is that something that he's looking for you to do? Is that something that does he want to be elevated, or are you going out of your way just to make it happen? And continue on with this, like when you got with somebody, you liked them as they were. So now you're trying to change. So it's like, what's the problem? An argument could be made. It's like, you got with me and you liked me as I was. So like, what do I need to elevate? What are you trying to push me to elevate for if you already liked me where I was?
Because I didn't get you where you were, assuming that you were going to stay there. Our life is going to change. Like, we're going to get older. We're going to go through different seasons. We're going to have different needs. And it's important to know that the person that you're with is someone that you can grow with. And a part of growth is change.
Okay. I mean, so I agree with that.
I expect and anticipate for you to change. And I also think that because we may grow or change at different times and we may not be on the same timeline. If I'm a little bit ahead of you, of course I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm here. I would really appreciate if you can meet me here. What is it going to take for you to be able to meet me here? Do you see me here? Like, you recognize that there's a difference. What is it going to take? And that might be the room for the growth. It's not necessarily like I came in here and signed up like this, and this needs to change in order for us to be together. It's more like, I'm going to grow and change. And as I grow and change and elevate, I always want you to continually be able to meet me. And if that happens at a pace that is like we're growing at different pace, I have to be patient enough to let you get there. But I'm still going to remind you that you're not there, or like share with you where I'm at and hope for you to be able to get there. I think that would be true either way.
And I agree with you when you explain it like that. I also have to make sure in which way, we're trying to elevate our partners, because not everybody's trying to elevate the way people want to be elevated in. Additionally, you also have to take into account, I guess, like the willingness of your partner to like elevate. So example, like y'all met, everything was good, y'all vibing, and y'all everything's going well, and then like a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, some in life happens, and then your needs change, or you reach another certain level, and then you're kind of like, hey, I'm saying, I'm moving on to change it. So now because that I've changed, what I need is now different than what it used to be. I need you to be able to provide that for me. Are they willing to do that?
We would assume so. If you love me and you're in relationship with me and you want to continue to be in relationship with me,
I
you better rise to the occasion, or else it's not going to work.
I agree with you on that one. So I guess what I'm trying to say is are you entitled to that change, in the sense of like, can you just be like, I've tried. Okay, now you're not able to provide me this need, or you're unwilling to do so. So I'm just going to go ahead and just cut it off right here, as opposed to let me stick it out and just continue to just bang my head against the wall and trying to get you to change, and then nothing happens, and then you get mad, you get frustrated. But really, he's like, I don't want to do this. Because I feel like a lot of people I said a lot of people will bang their head against the wall and just be like, I'm trying, like, try to like forcefully pull them up or make them change in a way that they want to see. And then if the partner is unwilling or reticent or just unwilling to do it, it certainly becomes that person's problem. So it's like, you're wrong because you're not willing to come meet me where I'm at, versus like, well, I can recognize that he or she is not willing to meet me where I'm at now, what I need. Let me go. Let me get out the way.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that we're typically more inclined to blame the other person. So yes, if it were me, I would probably be in a situation where that would be my first reaction of like, damn, like I thought we agreed, we're committed in this way to be together. And a part of being together is fulfilling each other's wants and needs. At this point in time, my wants and needs are this. We've agreed to be able to fulfill each other's wants and needs. And so I thought that there was shared responsibility. If I get to this place and I need something different, you're going to meet me there. You're saying that you're not going to meet me there. Of course, there's going to be some immediate kind of resentment, some anger, some feelings of like blame placed on you. But that doesn't do anything for me but keep me stuck. Like you said, like keep me running my head up against the wall and not seeing any of the results that I want to see. So my response to that, after a certain amount of time of not getting what I want from you, would be to reframe it and see what my role is in it. Like what I'm responsible for in it. If there was something that I was supposed to learn from this, if there was something that I did that contributed to a space where the change couldn't be fostered, right? Like if I presented it in a different way, would you have been willing to make the change? Like sometimes it's all about how you communicate a change as about how you communicate a change as well. Is it, I need you to do this for me, or is it, it really helps me when this need is met. Can you do this for me? I read something like that earlier today of like, sometimes just the way that we frame something can make it easier for the other person to accomplish, because it feels like you're going to be successful in doing this thing for me, and you still want to help me, you still love me. It's not that you don't want to be in relationship with me, but me demanding something from you versus like inviting you to collaborate and help me with something gets two different results. So all of those things I would have to take into consideration. But you're right, blame would be first. I think that's human. That's pretty natural for us to feel like when we're not getting what we want, and the thing that we want seem like it feels like the reason that we're not getting what we want is because of someone else. It's easy to blame that person.
That's true. I agree 100% with you. It's like, yep. And I think we all do that. Generally when a relationship fails and, you ask the people who involved, generally there's going to be some blame. Very rarely are you going to hear, the person that you're asking the question to admit to some kind of culpability in it. Usually it's like, because, they did this or wasn't doing that and it was blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. It's really like, okay, but what about how did you contribute to the dissolving of the relationship? What things did you did that could have been improved and things of that nature? Not in the sense of like, it was your fault or only your fault. And like, we're just blaming you and trying to take the any kind of culpability away from your partner. But at the very least, being able to acknowledge and be aware of how you played a part in how that relationship went. Like we can't just only take the praise. You know what I'm saying? If you're taking the praise, you also got to take the blame. Both sides. So that's really all I'm coming from.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a nice little plate. You know what I'm saying? Whetting my appetite.
All right, we ready to transition?
All right, hold a second. Let me All right. So moving on into the entree, the main plate. What is it looking like?
Today, I wanted us to talk about gender roles and relationships. So first, I wanted us to start off with a definition for gender roles. I feel like everyone knows, but I think it would be a helpful reminder of what a gender role is.
That's a good one. I don't think I've actually literally Googled or looked up the actual definition of a gender role.
Yeah. Okay. So a gender role, according to the interwebs, is a social role encompassing a range of behaviors and attitudes that are generally considered acceptable, appropriate, or desirable for a person based on that person's sex. So basically, it's norms that are attributed to you based off of your sex. So your attitudes, your behaviors, these things typically give you a reward in society. If you behave in this way, you may be praised, you may be closer to the norm, you may be seen as desirable or attractive, things like that all go along with gender roles. Anything you would add there, babe?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to it is that, I would add, in addition to what you said, I think you kind of said it already, is that gender roles are not only for relationships. It's global in the sense of the totality of your life. They can be in how you build your friendships and how you pursue your job and the things that the jobs that you pursue, the education that you try to pursue, that. All of that goes into the type of gender roles that it goes into. It's not just romantic relationships, which I feel which I believe and think and probably know that has been the focus of the term gender role over the last few years. It's only been focused on just gender roles within relationships.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think there's been more public conversation about gender roles in relationships and what a man's role in a relationship and a woman's role in a relationship is. But gender roles impact everything, like Brandon just said, the job that you're going to take, the interest that you have, who you consider to be a part of your friend group, what is normative for you in your friend group, even your roles in your family, what the girls are expected to do versus what the boys are expected to do, the toys that you get as a kid, all of that is conditioning that has to go along with gender roles of what is appropriate for a boy and what is appropriate for a girl.
Agreed.
Quote unquote. And
also, contrary to popular belief, gender roles are not reinforced solely by the patriarchy or the man in society. Gender roles are generally reinforced by the very gender in which it applies to. So men be telling men, hey, don't do this, do that. Women are telling women, don't do this, do that type of thing. It is a reinforcement that also comes from the gender in which you will ascribe to.
Yeah. Your gender group will reinforce the behaviors.
They have their own rules and regulations that exist within the group. With every club has their own bylaws and rules and regulations. And I believe that this is true. And again, I think the focus has been on the opposite of the gender rules that has been ascribed to you based off the opposite sex, men telling women what y'all should be doing, and also definitely of what women saying what men should be or should do, as opposed to what talking about the gender in which, or talking about the club that you're in.
Yeah, talking about what y'all need to fix, what y'all got going on over there, as opposed to over there I don't like what they do.
Yeah, I don't like what they're doing over there. They over there. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. My money. You're how you hating from outside of the club? You can't even get in.
Yeah. So thinking about that. And the way that we just defined it, I think that a lot of times people will say, do you believe in gender roles? And it's it's not a fantasy. They exist. It's not a question of do you believe in them or do you not believe in them. I guess it's a better question is, do you practice the gender roles? Do you subscribe to gender roles within? More often than not, we are concerned with and thinking about romantic relationships. So let's start there. Mm-hmm. Do you subscribe to gender roles in our relationship or in general? You can go general because Brandon likes to talk in generals.
That's true. I prefer to start general and work our way down or work our way in, I guess, if it's appropriate to do so. But for me in general, gender roles exist.
Yes,
I'm a believer that gender roles exist. Mm-hmm. I do think that they are very useful. They can be very useful, and I can also admit that there may be some gender roles that may be antiquated or may not necessarily be needed in this common era. But in general, I do believe in gender roles, and yes.
And you subscribe to them as well.
In general, yeah, I do. I believe I do.
Why do you think that you subscribe?
I will say that a good percentage of it has been I feel like I've just bought into the bylaws. I understand that men are expected to do certain things, and then there's expectations on women as well. I may not agree or particularly like everything that comes with those expectations that are placed on me as a man, but in general, I buy into it because it's I'm willing to do it. It makes sense to me. It's something that seems to has worked. Mm-hmm. We have a documented history since the beginning of time that indicate in general that gender roles work. It got us here. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to fix something that's not necessarily broke. That being said, and like I said before, there may be some parts of gender roles that can be tweaked, that can be given a more modern spin to and stuff like that, and I'm okay with that. But I'm saying this in general, I think that gender roles within romantic relationships, I think they're good. I think in general, I think the guy should be the provider or the provider and the protector. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Why the men in general is physically stronger, so it would make sense that they would handle that. I think in general, the woman would take a more nurturing role with the children and things like that. That makes sense. They carry the child. They have these biological processes that literally are tailor built for you to be able to better take care of any child that you why would I want to change that? It doesn't make sense to do so. I understand that sometimes life comes at you fast, and then necessity requires swift changes, and you got to do what you got to do. But I'm saying in general, I think those gender roles we've evolved for this. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to I'm not trying to fight so hard against how I'm built, how we're built, and how we've built society to be, unless we absolutely need to. And I don't feel like we necessarily need to in general.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that. I think when I was thinking about this topic before we started, I was thinking about what ways we use gender roles to serve our expectations or wants, right? So mm-hmm. There's some gender roles that we as women benefit from, and there's some gender roles that you as men benefit from. And those are the ones that are generally accepted. It's protector, provider. There's no woman out here who is no,
I don't want that.
Throw that one away.
Right.
That one is trash. I don't want no man to provide for me. That's not the one that we want to do away with. And so I agree. I think that unless it is a conflict with some belief that you hold, some moral that you hold, or some desire that you have for yourself, in general, gender roles usually serve the betterment of both. I think where we run into some conflict is if it isn't authentic to you. So if you're cooking and cleaning as a woman because it's what you feel like you have to do because that's what the gender role says that you have to do, or like we were saying earlier, the men on the outside of the club are women need to cook and clean. That's all y'all, that's what you're good for. Rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Yeah.
And that's not you. That was never you, and you're doing it because you think that's what you have to do. That's where I think that there is some conflict and the gender role is no longer serving you. So I think For me, I think you pick and choose which ones best serve you and best serve your relationship. And that's how it goes. I don't believe in such strict adherence to gender roles that we don't allow a person to play out their strengths. So if you were the better cook, but if you were the better cook and the better homemaker, like you just had an eye for interior design, I'm going to let you do it because you're good at it. I'm not going to be like, I'm the woman. I'm the person who should be doing this. I don't believe in adhering to them to a fault where it's a detriment to me and my relationship.
Right.
And if the reverse is true, like I am the provider and I happen to make more. I'm a bodybuilder and I'm just stronger than you, or I've been training with guns since I was a kid. And so like, why would you pick up the gun? Because that's a strength of mine. Like, we know that I got this. It's not to emasculate you. It's not to take you out of this gender role. It's just that like we should play to the strengths of each partner, because that's what we're here for anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, and also like, why, if you're already in a relationship with somebody that is the bodybuilder and it's been training with guns since for whatever, like, why are you complaining? Like, you knew what it was when you signed up. If that's something that you feel like is something that you don't want within your relationship, then don't sign up for it. Like, you see that coming, and you don't. You saw when y'all first got it in, she picked you up.
Big slow.
Yeah, so you know, when stuff happens, you saw she jump in front of you. I mean, come on now.
Now she jumps in front of you. My man.
Yeah, she put the arm on you until you get behind her when shit pop off. Yeah, no, so I think that you're correct that I in general, gender roles exist and are a thing. And I think in general, like, most people subscribe to them, but like on a more granular level, it may differ based on like on the individual relationships and what works best for you. But just because it may not apply to you does not mean it shouldn't apply or doesn't apply to everyone else. So let me give you an example. I am the greatest cook in the world. I'm hypothetical. I'm the better cook. Mm-hmm. I enjoy cleaning. You know, cleaning down the house. Doing all the household type things that are generally ascribed to the more the feminine gender role. Because I'm like that. Now I'm here rah-rahing saying all men need to be doing this. Like, oh, what? You don't do that? You ain't shit. Woman, what? You cleaning? That's not how you should be doing. Like, you need to be doing, like, I got that. This is how a true relationship should be. I can't be over here trying to force how I'm living my life on other people.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's what's happening?
I think that's happening. I think that's happening a little bit. Yeah. I think that's happening by a little bit, a lot. I think it's happening a lot. Yeah,
because what I'm thinking is they're to the point we were making earlier of like when men on the outside of the women's gender role, like, this is what women should do. This is what men want women to do. Rada, rada, rada. And then women returning with like, but that's not what I want to do. Right. And I think what you're saying is that okay, you cannot want that, but know that this is the norm. This is more of what is normative, more of what men are looking for. So for you to get what you want, it's going to be an anomaly, or it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find because this is the norm that men have come to expect. So you can't like backdoor someone into getting something that they weren't expecting or that they're not desiring, because they have been raised to see this other thing as the norm.
Right. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before about like, when the relationship and we change within it, and then like you're looking for your partner to be able to meet you where you're at, but then they may not be willing. It's like you got to take accountability and be like, okay, they're no longer able to they're either unable or unwilling to meet my new need. I gotta figure out how I can make my get this need met. Change my expectations on this need being met, or choosing to like, okay, I'm gonna have to go and find someone who can meet my needs, as opposed to just staying here and just blaming and getting mad about it. So like, if you have an expectation within like your relationship that is generally not the norm, instead of trying to change the world, just focus on the people who's willing to meet that need. And also being aware that, hey, if you're going for something that is not the norm, you got to recognize that it's going to be a less of a pool that you're going to pull from. Like, that's part of the that's the cost that you have to go to. Like for example, like a woman want that 6 foot man making 6 figures who got 6 inches or more, who treats you right. Like having all of those things in one man is so rare that you have to be okay with the possibility that you would never find that man. So. And for a man, you want a woman who's never going to talk back to you, who's never going to challenge you, who's going to be fine. All they're going to keep that perfect hourglass figure. You're even while she's pregnant, everything going to be smooth sailing. She's going to cook and clean and do it, and jump off the chandelier on it at all times. It's going to be bliss forever. Sure, those women exist, but they are not the norm. And you have to be like, you got to be prepared to be never find that woman.
I don't think she exists. I don't think that's realistic for a relationship.
It's not. But I'm just.
I get what you're saying, but
the odds of a man, the odds of a man finding that woman is the same. It's probably it's more of an odd of a man being able to find that woman than a woman being able to find that perfect Negro, or just that perfect man. Period. That's that perfect man. Period.
When you said Negro, this
Magic
is
Negroes.
An aside. I keep thinking about that Dr. Umar video. Well, it's not Dr. Umar. It's a white man trying to say Niger, and he has it up, and then Dr. Umar
he was like, say
this word. This word is a country in Africa, and if you want to pronounce it with an American pronunciation, you should use a hard R sound. And do not use the G in the sound like a G. In fact, we pronounce it more like a J. So when you put it together, it sounds like Niger. How?
What you about to say right now? Yeah. So yeah, I think the gender roles, like if you as a man, you want if you want to keep like a very traditional gender role. Like when I say traditional, I mean like how your grandparents, had to do it. Mm-hmm. There are women who are willing to do that. There are women who want that, who want it and get that. But you can't expect that to be like the norm. Like that you're not going to. That every woman is not going to want to do that. Like you can probably have the expectation, but at this point in time, if you're alive and you like have the internet, you should be able to see that like not all women subscribe to that traditional gender roles anymore. But there are definitely a good amount who do. So you got to go for them instead of stop trying to turn these Instagram women into housewives. I'm trying to be better. You know what I'm saying?
Models.
People have been saying this since the beginning of time. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Stop. Mm-hmm. Go look for housewives.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, that makes me think of like. So when I think of gender roles, I kind of think of it the same way that I think about culture. Like there's multiple layers of culture, or maybe you've seen the iceberg metaphor for culture. There's like the things that you can see on the surface, and then there's the things that are underneath that you can't necessarily see. And what I appreciate about like the onion metaphor is that there is like pop culture, what we have all kind of subscribed to. We have like national culture, then we have communal culture, so what is true for Black culture, and then we have the culture of our family. So like what is true for the culture of our family when it comes to gender roles. And I think when we have to take all of those things into account when we're dating someone, and we're talking about gender roles in relationships, because yes, we were raised in the same like national culture, but there could still even be local culture things if we were raised in different states, which you and I were, and then family culture because we're raised in different households. And so like all of those things kind of come into play when it comes to thinking about gender roles. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what gender roles we feel are specific in Black culture.
I mean, that's going to be interesting because I feel like Black culture it ain't the same as everybody else's culture.
No.
And unfortunately. But maybe not unfortunately, but there's some benefits to it.
Pros and cons.
There's some pros and cons to it. But I guess the unfortunate part is that we don't have the same basis to build off of that all other cultures are. For in general, most other cultures in general, like the man is the head off top. Like Hispanic, like Latino, Asian culture, Middle Eastern culture, it's understood that like the man is the head, the woman, is like the support and things of that nature. But in coming to Black community, it's the opposite. Like woman has generally been the head over these last a lot of I was gonna say century, but that's not true. Handful of decades. So like just off of that, there's a huge disconnect from being able to kind of relate to anybody else, any other cultures, like speaking of their gender roles, because it's kind of reversed for us. So you got to keep. I think, and we got as Black people, we kind of got to keep that in mind, that we are not starting from the same starting spot as everyone else.
When I hear you say that about Black people and about like a more matriarchal organization of our culture, I think that means that the people who are most at a disadvantage are women, because like the idea here, or typically we see women do all of the feminine gender roles. I'm going to cook, I'm going to clean, I'm going to take care of the household. And in the absence of a man, I'm also going to protect, I'm going to provide, I'm going to do everything, be a handyman. And so you have a woman who is like expecting herself, maybe even raised to do everything and be in control of everything and like have it all together. And then she's supposed to partner with someone and give them some responsibility. Like now it's like I have to relinquish some control over these things in order to allow you to assume the more masculine roles, because I have been conditioned to do all of it. And it's like I don't know how to let you do the things that you were supposed to do, because I also know how to do them, and I might feel like I know how to do them better. Well, yeah. I might be like, that's not how you do that. I know that you could do it this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and not only that, because Black women in general have had to do both roles, the roles have blurred together to the point like I feel like we can't, or that it's difficult for them to be able to separate which role is what. So like I don't know, this is the feminine, supposed to be more feminine role, or this is supposed to be the more masculine, because you've been doing both so much. Like what part is the part that I'm supposed to relinquish to the man? What part am I supposed to keep to myself? Well, I'm better at this part here that may be more stereotypically considered a masculine trait. I'm not trying to get that up because I'm good at that. But you want me to do the part that I don't necessarily like to do, or I may not be as good at. I don't want to do that part. You do that part. But the man is like, no, this is the role I'm playing. This is the job I'm applying for. Like this is what I'm going to be doing. And then for her, who's had to do both, having to disconnect that too. I can understand the difficulty in being able to do that. That being said, the world don't give a shit.
Oh, like, I don't care about the world though. I care about
by the world. By the world, I mean like, while, like you said, the gender roles for Black women being what they are, it is more of a detriment to Black women because of the X, Y, and Z. Yes, but that doesn't mean that the change still doesn't need to happen. The longer it's taking, the more it's going to continue to hurt you, or not you, but Black women, because Black men are still going to be like, this is the role I'm playing. If you are unwilling to allow me to do this, do this job, or trust me to do this, then I'm just going to move on to someone who will. It's only like I know it's hard, but you still got to do the work.
I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. But I think in hearing that, what do you think Black men are cultured to do? What do they expect their gender role to be? What's normative, desirable behavior?
Well, seriously and kind of playfully, I want to say like it feels like Black men got to be perfect. Like we have to be perfect, because if Black women could do everything, then I need my Black man to be able to do everything. And not only that, since we're looking at men that we want Black men to be the head of household again, like every other ethnicity is, and with the understanding that like in general it's because the man is better at these certain things, I'm also looking at you to be better at me at doing these things too. So like if I do everything, you got to be able to do everything, but also better than me in order for that to make sense. Yeah. So like if I give you the provider and protector role, that must mean because you're stronger than me, because you have more ability to provide. So of course you would take the lead in that. And vice versa for men to women. It's like, you are a really good cook. You take care of the kids so well. You empathize. So I'm looking to you to take the lead in that. That would make sense because you do better at that. But for the black woman who's used to and having to do everything, in order for her to be able to give up any kind of control, it required the man to be able to be better at the thing in which I'm giving up control. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. But if I know how to do everything, I need you to be able to do everything and also better at all of those things than me.
That's a lot.
So like, even though you may be better at these things, these specific things, and okay, you could take that. Like, you got to be better. I'm still better than you in other things, so I'm going to fight you on those things.
That sounds like a lot.
Of course, yeah. It is a lot. And if I can keep it a stack as a black man who has to experience that, and then dating outside of the black race, we don't get that pressure is not there. It's understood. It's like it's not a fight just to exist within the relationship within, like, as a man. And so I can see how it's like, why would I want to give my, like, intentionally go the harder route in order to, like, have a relationship where, like, it's infinitely easier over here. Not infinitely. Let me stop. Now, that was a wild word, but definitely it can be easier in general. Because I don't like that. But I'm just saying, like
I hear what you're saying. I mean, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of easier versus difficult, because I do think that's a whole different. I'm just gonna park that.
Yeah.
Because I think that is something else that could be explored. Mm-hmm. But to your point of, like, the gender role and the expectation there of, if I'm going to allow you to do something, you better be very good at it. Yeah. I do think that that's a real expectation. And it's also, if I am the standard, if I am the best at this thing, you better at least do it the exact same way that I do it, right? And so there isn't any space for those differences to exist of, like, I want to do it this way. My way is the best way. You want to do it your way, and there's nothing wrong with your way. It's just different from mine. So, like, having to navigate and negotiate those differences and reach some type of common ground seems like something that needs to happen, but maybe is going to take a little while to happen. I think that's the thing. Like, because norms are influenced by society, family, and, like, even your regional culture, mm-hmm. like, all of those things have to shift towards more of what we want before we see the change that we ultimately want to see take place.
That's true. And to keep going on what you're saying is, it's like, to shift a norm to, like, something new, like, generally it's going to take time, growing pains, mm-hmm. and things of that nature. But that being said, there are already examples of what those norms are within other cultures. So I feel like we are looking to those other cultures in order to make those our own, even though I feel like they can be incompatible with what we're starting from. So, like, men and women are looking at what the gender norms for black people should be by looking at, like, what the gender norms are for other people around them, because that's the only examples that we have. But those, they're starting from a different basis than we are, which makes it incompatible. So it's kind of hard to do that, because it's either going to be a very tough, we want to break it down completely to rebuild it as we imagine it to be, more in line with everyone else, or we got to be okay with knowing that whatever we build, it can't and it won't look anything like what the other folks shit's looking like.
Yeah, you're right, babe. I agree with you. I don't think that it's helpful to look at your neighbor and say, like, oh, I want exactly what my neighbor has, and the way for me to get it is to just apply the same steps that they apply, mm-hmm. because they don't exist within the same culture as you, mm-hmm. and they may not have some of the same barriers or historical contexts that have provided for the gender norms and roles to exist the way that they have in your culture. So it's not going to serve us in the way that we, like, think that it will. But hopefully, fingers crossed, toes crossed, that the norms that we are seeing kind of come up in terms of, like, the norm of, like, some emotional intelligence for both genders, and, like, the norm that we are seeing coming up in terms of women embracing softer parts of themselves and not feeling like they have to do it all, right? Like, relinquishing mm-hmm. some control over things that they have traditionally felt like they had to hold as their own and take responsibility for, and men desiring to be protectors and providers. I think that if we see the shift that we are hoping to see as those things grow, we'll be better.
I think it'll happen once it is incentivized. So in general, like we were saying earlier, gender roles are generally incentivized as you subscribe to them. So like society will like give you like, you know, pats on the back or pats on the head for like buying in. Right now, the gender norms exist within those gender norms that we want to be able to subscribe to, or the things we want to be able to do, or we're looking for our partners to be able to do. I feel like right now, at least within the Black community, are not being incentivized. Well, now they're starting to be incentivized, but previously they were not incentivized at all. So like women want, or Black women have indicated they want men to be, you know, a little bit more emotionally vulnerable with their women, and you know, and men want women who can, like, their women to be able to trust them and things of that nature. But like those things were not incentivized. Like we weren't choosing for that, you know. So we want the man to do this, but Black women were choosing the man who's doing them dirty, who's going to leave them in the dirt. So men seeing that is like, well, if this is going to get me to what I want, I guess let me just go ahead and do this thing. So if we want men to act in certain ways or be comfortable expressing themselves in certain ways, then women are going to have to start choosing men who do those things. And same thing for men. Like men, you don't want Instagram thotty. You don't want a woman who out here shaking her ass. And what's the thing they said? We saw from what's that podcast you like watching? We were just listening to before we started.
I am only thinking about turkey bacon and condoms. So
no. It was saying something like I think it was like cap or no cap. It's like, you know, women all they do is shake ass and kill.
This generation don't do outside activities no more.
They don't barbecue.
They just shake ass and kill
in the sense of like abortions and stuff like that. So like if you want I guess a quote unquote more wholesome woman, then men in whole are going to have to start choosing those women who exhibit those traits instead of going for the BBL bodies and then being surprised why more and more women want to continue to do these things.
Agreed. I feel like that was your final food for thought. You always do it.
I don't know how it happens. This flows.
You just sploosh too early. Okay. My final food for thought is that you should evaluate the gender roles that you currently display. Like, I think it's hard. Sometimes it's so intertwined with maybe even your personality. You may think that you like to do this just because you like to do it, but you may have been conditioned to do it. It may be a gender role that you are displaying. So I would say evaluate that. And then that question that I posed earlier of like, what gender roles serve your expectations and wants. So if you want a man that's a protector and provider, is that because that's what you really want, or is it the gender role kind of serving the expectation and want? And use that as you're making a list of a potential partner that you want to have, because that may help you better identify that person earlier.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. All right, we good?
Mm-hmm. Make sure to check us out every Monday, y'all, wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. YouTube will drop every Wednesday, so if you're seeing us, it's already Wednesday. And if you have a question, you can email us at thebuffetpod@gmail.com, all one word. Follow us on Instagram at thebuffetpod. We're trying to reach 100 subscribers. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Subscribe here. Do it all. Give us all the love. And we're sending it back to you. We love y'all.
I'm saying tell everybody, tell people, you know, in your circle. Tell your coworkers, tell everything. You know, every time they ask you, hey, what you up to? I just got done listening to this podcast, even if you wouldn't say you did. And then name drop us. Tell them. We appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Buffet Podcast with your hosts, me, the handsome Brandon, and the beautiful Ciandra.
Thanks, y'all.
Stay eating. Peace.